I received this question. I keep running out of things to say in the middle of a conversation. This was pretty much the question. It was on a coaching call on the phone, and he was saying that he keeps finding himself in the middle of the conversation going, yeah, so, yeah, and he has that issue continuously when he's talking. He's it's like a day game or in a nightclub or even in a social setting with a girl that he doesn't really know too well. He finds himself in the middle of the conversation running out of things to say, and he starts thinking of canned lines that he can say, and he's struggling to overcome that. So I'm going to break that down and give you guys my take on it. Before we kick it off, I'm Dave, and this channel is dedicated to giving you no BS novel dating advice for the modern man. My book's in the description, top link in the description to get some one-on-one coaching with me or do a boot camp. So, how to never run out of things to say with a girl. This is one of the most common problems that guys have, and it's not really that you don't know what to say. I think it was more, he was saying, what should I say? And what is behind the fear of not knowing what to say is that you're going to say the wrong thing. That's what you're afraid of. And you want the perfect sentence that you can say. And then whatever she says, you want the perfect sentence to say. And that's because of the fear of rejection. That's really what's going on here, is that you're afraid of being rejected. You're afraid that she's not going to like what you say, which is a real thing. It's a real possibility. But it's also just, you want the perfect thing that's going to work. And if you can get it from someone else and you can go over and say it, and if this perfect sentence does not work, you've got someone else to blame except for yourself. So it's, you're afraid of rejection from the girl, but you're also afraid of feeling inadequate yourself. So there's quite a few different things going on. You feel inadequate, you're worried about the rejection, so you want a safe space to be in, pretty much to some extent, something along those lines. But really, when you look at, there's a reason why people called it pick-up art in the old days, is because it's an art form. And what is art? Well, if you look at art, it's individual. So one painting is never the same as another painting. Every single painting is different. Every single artist has their own style. And also with martial arts too, they might have the basic strokes with the brush, but it'll be individual to that artist, the same as there'll be the same punch or the same grapple, the same kick, but it'll be individual to that martial artist. That's why it's called an art. And so cold approach, that's why I call it the sweet art of, of cold approach, sweet science. It is individual to you. And you have to get through that. There's no other way to get through it. After breaking it down, I discovered that he had done a grand total of 0 approaches in the last week. Now, obviously, to get through to the point where you don't care so much, you have to go through what is called exposure training. You have to expose yourself to being in that, under that pressure, in the pressure of her looking at you, waiting for you to say something, and you need to expose yourself to that over and over and over again until you become more comfortable in that environment. So you have to expose yourself to it, and so that it's you can, I guess, in the beginning come up with some sort of canned line and then try to transition into a real conversation, into the meat of the conversation, but then it has to come from you. Now, the sequence usually is, when you are approaching someone you don't know, is that you go over, you introduce yourself. That doesn't mean that you go over and give a compliment. That doesn't mean that you tell them your name and you say hi, blah, blah, blah. You go over and you can have some sort of an environmental open. You'll talk about something in the environment, something where you both can share on looking at something else instead of all the pressure being directly on her. And then you transition into a conversation, and how you do that is by gathering information about her. So you generally ask a few questions in the first couple seconds, 20 seconds, 30, first minute, and by that stage you've gathered enough information, and then you can keep going back. So you ask a question, she tells you something about her, like she's on her way to buy some shoes, and that can be a reoccurring theme of the entire conversation. So you can keep talking about the type of shoes that you might want to buy. It sounds mundane, but that's what most conversations are. You're talking about something that is relatively mundane, low pressure. If you're going in and you're coming in like a comedian, you're coming in like a joker, you just look like a fool. Let's just be honest. If you're listening to someone and they're overtly funny and all these other things are going on, she's just gonna see, okay, well, I just met you and you're a joker, you're a bit of a fool, and you must do this with a lot of people in the street, and you're a bit of a goose, a bit of a clown. And so it really, you're gathering a little bit of information, and then you can keep going back to that little bit of information during the meat of the conversation. And that's generally the best structure to have. If she's giving you one-word answers, you're not really getting too much information, and then it's better to go to someone who's a little bit more talkative. And when you do that, you're like, okay, well, she's not that talkative. It's not my fault. I don't really know anything about her. I can't really get into the meat of the conversation. I'm not even going to count this as an approach. I'm going to go to the next girl, and I'm going to try and get a bit of a conversation going with her, and hopefully she will tell me something about her that in the meat of the conversation I can keep referring to that during the conversation. And we can build on that. And when you talk about the shoes, then maybe she might share something else. And then you learn something new about her, then you've got a new thing to discuss. And then it just keeps expanding like that. Instead of, that also could be a problem too, not really listening. She might give you some valuable information about her that's really important, and you might not hear it because you're so nervous, or you might just ignore it, when really that was something that you could talk about. Now, obviously, when you're first starting this can be high pressure, and after a while it can be a little bit of fun. I enjoy cold approach and meeting new people. I think it's fun. I still get a bit of an adrenaline rush when I do it myself. But a lot of the guys that will be asking this question, it's too scary and it's preventing them from doing anything. So we need to get through that so that you can actually start to enjoy it, get the exposure therapy down, where you can speak to strangers in the street, and then you can get into the meat of the conversation by gathering that information. You're not too stressed, so you actually hear what she's saying and you compute, oh, that's a topic, she's giving me information, I'm learning about her. So generally there's a lot of things going on, but how to keep a conversation going is basically the philosophy of everything that I just told you right now. Obviously it's individual to you and your situation and how you're going at any moment in your cold approach journey. But the most important thing really is to enjoy it. That's the most important thing, is to enjoy it and have fun with it. It's like skydiving. Every time you make an approach, it's exhilarating. I love it myself. So if you want some one-on-one coaching with me, anywhere in the world, or do some cold approach training where we go through the sweet art of cold approach, do some boot camps, top link in the description where you can sign up to a boot camp with me. And for the rest of you guys, click the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video.